Hey everyone, it's Allie and welcome to my channel and welcome to a little life update video. I'm doing a Q&A, I'll share some empty house footage, and I will talk about my goals for the next few months. Alright you guys, so I have to admit it feels weird sitting down and filming. I have not filmed a video in exactly a month. And it's actually been exactly a month since I have been down in South Carolina. So if you missed my whole announcement video, moving content so far, definitely check out that playlist because I will be referencing some things I've talked about in the past. But quick backstory, my husband and I and our two puppy boys, Gibby and Bernard, we just moved down 1 month ago from Columbus, Ohio to the Charleston, South Carolina area, specifically Summerville, South Carolina. And this was something that we had been planning for years, but the actual process happened very, very quickly. A house popped up at the beginning of February and we very quickly sold our house and closed on this new house. And it was a stressful process for the most part because we did decide to save some money and pack everything up ourselves in our pods. And I can say, woohoo, that I don't think anything got fully broken. We did have a few things have little chips in them, but for the most part, all my vintage mirrors survived, thank God. Our marble table survived, although it does have some chips. And I was going to record more of this process. I wanted to record like the first week, closing and everything, more of the unpacking process, but honestly, it was just extremely overwhelming. So before we get into the Q&A and some house footage, I just wanted to kind of let you know what's been going on the last month so we can get into making the South Carolina content. So if you saw my last video where I was filming a week in my life, this was a week in the life, I believe 2 weeks before I was moving, but then my last clip was just a couple days before we made the move. And in that last clip, I said, things had taken a turn, unfortunately, not with the house, thank God, but with external factors. So literally 4 days before we moved on Monday, April 18th, my husband's check engine light came on and we took it into just a Midas and they said, you're gonna have to take it to the dealership. The dealership said they couldn't look at it until Monday and we had to leave by Monday. So we were freaking out. In that last video, I said I wasn't quite sure what our solution was gonna be at that time, just 3 days before the move. Ultimately, my dad very, very generously let us borrow his big SUV because we did have 2 pods that we packed up, but we also had a smaller U-Haul that we needed to tow behind us. And I do have a 2010 Ford Edge, which I was going to sell. I was going to sell it before we left, and thank God I decided not to do that. So when we left, we took my dad's SUV down. I rode in the car with my husband and the 2 dogs, and we made the 10-hour drive down to South Carolina. Thank God, no problems with that. While my husband's truck was in the shop, my dad drove around my Ford Edge. And the plan was for my parents to then drive separately. My dad would drive my truck, my mom would drive my Ford Edge down here to South Carolina and we would trade vehicles. My dad would take his SUV back. So unfortunately, the truck has been a massive issue. It turned out it needed a completely new engine and this truck is only a few years old. So they replaced the engine. My parents had planned to come just this past week after we'd been here for about 3 weeks. And then my dad's driving it around a little bit, making sure it's okay, and the car completely dies again. So now 1 month later, today is Monday, April 15th, the truck is still in the shop. The truck is still not done. They're still trying to figure it out. So as soon as they do, my parents will find the right time and bring it down and we'll switch the vehicles. I'll have my car again. Ryan will have his truck, but the truck has been such an issue and I'm sorry that this has gone on longer than I expected already, but yeah, that's been our biggest issue so far. And then also, unfortunately, once we got down here a month ago, we were staying in an Airbnb for a couple days before we closed on our house, literally an hour before we saw our new house for the first time. I'm not going to get into the details, but my husband got some very bad news from work, so that was very off-putting and we were still quite fresh from the stress of moving, the stress of the truck, and we kind of felt like Job and just like everything that could go wrong was going wrong. But thankfully, there were no issues with the house. We absolutely love the house. Well, I should say there was one issue. It's not a big issue at all, but the dishwasher was broken. Like, I literally opened the dishwasher and this piece like fell out. It's this whole thing. It's still not been fixed yet. So we have been hand washing dishes, which is not that big of a deal in the long run. But yes, we love the house. I will go ahead and put some footage up here now. I cannot even believe how little we paid for the house in comparison to how much a house this size would go for in Columbus, especially being an hour from like 5 beaches. It's ridiculous. So just some quick info on the house. It is a 6-bedroom house. It is big, absolutely, for the 2 of us and our 2 dogs, but we are anticipating having a few kids in this house. And if you've been following along with me, especially if you've been following along with me since the beginning of my YouTube journey over on my thrifting channel, you know that my husband and I have been struggling with infertility the entire time we've been married, which is 6 years at this point. April 28th is our anniversary. So a big reason that we did want to hurry up and get settled in South Carolina as quickly as we could this year is so we can start officially an adoption process in this state. So we're giving ourselves the summer to kind of get settled. A lot of our family and friends are coming down, but at the end of the summer, we are going to start talking with different agencies, find the right fit for us, find an attorney, and hopefully we can be well into the process by the end of the year. And I know it can take many years, unfortunately, to get a child through adoption, but I'm praying that within hopefully a couple of years, we can get a kid. And I put myself way off track. But yes, so we did get this large house with the anticipation of having several kids in here. A lot of our family, of course, lives in the north, and we have a lot of siblings. We've got a lot of in-laws now, nieces, and so we wanted a house where we could have multiple groups of people in the house without it being too overwhelming. And my husband and I, we both work from home, so we both have home offices here. And I am super excited to give you guys a tour when the house is more done. I kind of decided to do it more that way. But honestly, it is a really good fit for us. And we do have no basement here. That's another thing. So if you saw my home tour video from our Columbus house, I'll go ahead and link it up above. It was a much smaller house, especially in terms of the room sizes, but we had a massive basement. And so a lot of the things that we had in our basement are now just in other rooms in the house. But off the top of my head, some of my favorite things about this house are our loft area. And it's kind of like a reverse basement, I guess you'd say, and that's more common here in the South, having that 3rd floor rather than a basement. And it's not massive by any means, but it is a great size for a big couch. I had my eye on this super cozy Albany Park couch. It's called the Cova Pit, and it is so comfortable and it fits perfectly in the loft with our big TV. And we're also going to get like a table for game nights and things like that. So that's really all we need for like our lounge area, I feel like. We also have a screened-in porch, which I'm absolutely loving. And overall, I'm just loving the size of the rooms. We have a much bigger bedroom, and like the room that is my office where I have a lot of the clothes that I resell, it is bigger than the one I had in our last house. So it just feels a lot less like cluttered and crowded. And it is like a cookie cutter house, and we're seeing this neighborhood putting up other houses pretty quickly. So you would think that there would be a lot more like cheap materials and things like that. And we came from another house that was also built quite quickly in a busy neighborhood. And we are pleasantly surprised that aside from the dishwasher being broken, everything seems like it's pretty good. Like even the doors have nice molding on them and things like that. So there's some nice details in this house. There were a couple things that we were not expecting. I don't know if this is all new builds or just this particular builder, but we were surprised to see when we got here that there are no gutters on the house. So that's something that we are gonna have to put in the next few months. And thankfully that's not super expensive, but just something that we didn't anticipate. And then we weren't necessarily expecting it, but we were assuming that there would be a couple fans in the house, but yeah, no fans, no lights or anything like that, aside from the ones that are like in the ceiling. So that's another thing. Being in the South, it's getting quite warm already. We are gonna need some ceiling fans in at least a few rooms very shortly. One of the best things I think we did with the house was determine paint colors before we even moved, and this was a luxury because I could look at like a 3D model of the home, and I spent a lot of time like studying paint colors, comparing, but I really wanted to get the house painted by professionals like before we really did anything else, because of course it's a lot easier to paint when you don't have all your furniture and stuff in the rooms. So that was a very, very good investment in our opinion, because we do have a large house. We wanted literally the entire house painted, some rooms, the ceilings painted. Again, super excited to share a full tour, hopefully in the next month or so. But that's something I would recommend if you are moving, if you can possibly like figure out your paint colors and find a painter before you even move. That way it's just done. Literally, I think that was like the best thing that we decided. We also know from our last house how nice it is to have a fence. We lived in our last home for 5.5 years, and we didn't get a fence until like the last year and a half or so, and it like literally changed our lives. So that was something we also really wanted to make sure we got done as soon as possible. And we don't have it done yet, but hopefully within the next few weeks, we will have a nice privacy fence. Okay, but back to the timeline. So once we moved here a month ago and closed on our house and everything, we had the painters come in, and it was pure chaos because we didn't have movers unpacking our pods. My husband and I and one of our friends very thankfully came down and he helped move the big stuff, but it was just us moving everything, and we were like dodging the painters. So the first week was absolute chaos. And then I got super sick, and hopefully you can't hear it too much in my voice, but I was super sick for a solid week, and I'm still super mucusy and everything. So that has really, really annoyingly affected me a lot, and is a big reason why I did not really film the whole unpacking process. Not that we're done unpacking, we are certainly not done unpacking by any means. But yeah, honestly, the last month has gone by so quickly. We've just been trying to do a little bit every day while also getting back into the flow of work and just into new routines here, finding doctors, things like that. So I feel like we are now entering into a good period. Like I said, there's still quite a lot of work to do, quite a lot of unpacking to do, but we really wanted to kind of carve out this month of April before people started visiting us to get as much done in the house as we could, as well as just kind of set ourselves up for future success in the area. But yeah, that little update went much longer than I hoped, but hopefully that does kind of just bridge the gap between our past life in Columbus and our new life in Summerville. And I am super excited to not only just get back to filming sit-down videos, hopefully you like my background, you like my bookshelves. I'll do a bookshelf tour if you want. I still have a full other bookshelf in our study because we have a study now. So if you want to see a bookshelf tour, I am happy to make that for you guys. But hopefully that does just kind of clear things up, because I am really excited to do a lot more of these weekly reading vlogs where I'll share a lot more house updates. So let's go ahead and get into a little Q&A. I just have, I think, maybe like 7 questions to answer, and I will go ahead and make chapters down below, so hopefully you can see that you can just skip around in the video if you'd like. I hope you've got yourself a good coffee or something. We are on a budget at the moment, so I think that's gonna be kind of one of the questions, but we haven't really gone out anywhere or anything. But hopefully as I start making a little bit more money, having my Poshmark business up and running again, making more videos on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, help me get monetized on this channel. But as I make a little bit more money and get my car back, I would love to start going to like a different coffee shop once a week or so. But okay, so first question, how do your family and friends feel about the move? Well, as my one friend said, oh my gosh, I love him. He is one of my best friends, one of my oldest friends' husband that we've become very good friends with over the last like 5 years, 6 years or so. When we told him and his wife that we are moving, he was just like, well, I can't pretend I'm happy about it. And I think that's kind of the consensus from a lot of our people in the north. They are happy for us. They know we've wanted to move south for years. My husband and I both said, like when we were in high school and stuff, that we were not going to stay in our respective areas. I was from Ohio, my husband's from Pennsylvania. So they knew it was coming. We've been talking about it for years. And so of course, like same with us, we are sad to not be by some of our favorite people, but we are extremely excited to have people come down and visit. Thankfully, there's like a super cheap airline from Columbus and Pittsburgh down to Charleston, and we're not super far from the airport here at all. So we are bribing people with Charleston, bribing people with the beach, and we also are planning on staying up in the north over the holiday season, maybe just Christmas, maybe Thanksgiving and Christmas. So actually at the end of the year, I think we will have spent more quality time with people. So I think it's gonna be fine, honestly, but I do very much miss our friends who we just like go and have dinner with and hang out with, and my parents also lived about 15 minutes from us in Columbus. But we're talking about people moving down. So things are gonna be happening in the next few years for sure, where we will have more people by us down here. And then another question kind of going along with that, are you nervous about leaving them behind? Honestly, I am a pretty introverted person. I don't really need a lot of social interaction, and it's been a solid month since I've really like hung out with anybody aside from my husband, and I'm now kind of itching to start getting into routine, start meeting new people here. But I'm kind of someone, if I hang out with people like one day a week, I'm pretty okay with that, and I have been like FaceTiming my sister a good bit, and I need to get on a schedule FaceTiming some of my other friends and family, but that kind of fills that social void for me in a lot of ways. So that doesn't affect me, I don't think, as much as it would other people. I think with modern technology, that gap is bridged a lot more. And as I said, we do have a lot of people coming and staying this summer, so that will be, of course, very, very nice to spend some quality time with them. Do you know anyone in Summerville? Not Summerville, really, aside from like the neighbors that we just met. I do have a second cousin who's like my dad's age. I think he's like 65. He does live in Mount Pleasant, which is closer to actual downtown Charleston than where we are, but it's like half an hour, 40 minutes from our house. And he lives part-time in Mount Pleasant and part-time in Pennsylvania. So whenever he's down here, I'm sure we'll get together with him. I also do have a great uncle who lives in Southport, North Carolina, which is gorgeous. If you ever want to have a very cute beach vacation, Southport, North Carolina. But that is, I think, about 3.5 hours away, and we're very used to that length of a drive. So absolutely, we will go see him there. He came actually to Summerville last year when we were checking out the area, so I know he's comfortable with the drive. And in the middle is an area called Polly's Island, which is a great place to meet. So I think that we will see him probably every 2 to 3 months or so. We've also got family in Jacksonville, Florida, which is about 3 hours away. And we do have some friends in Raleigh, North Carolina, which is also about 3.5 hours away, I think. So yeah, when we were in Columbus, we still had a lot of family in Pennsylvania. We would make that 3-hour drive like multiple times a month sometimes. So we're very used to that, and we're gonna be seeing all those people. But yeah, hopefully some people will be moving down a little bit closer. All right, so let's answer a couple more questions. What have been the highs and lows of leaving your home community and putting roots down somewhere new? By far, not surprisingly, I think the biggest low is just not being as close to our friends and family. And as everyone knows, the summers get pretty dang hot here. So a summer in Columbus is marginally better, I would say, than a summer here. We've met some people from Ohio, and they said, honestly, it's not that much worse. And I would much rather have a 70-degree January day and a hot summer than what we had in Ohio. And the fact that we are very close to the beach, and we are so lucky, my husband and I, that we work for ourselves. So we are planning on doing a beach day every single week, going around to different beaches and just working on the beach, sitting in coffee shops, whatever. But that's something that we've been looking forward to for years. We've already visited a couple beaches, and it's just so nice and relaxing. Has it all sunk in yet, or does it feel like a vacation? I don't know if it has sunk in yet. It all happened so quickly. My husband and I both said like we felt like we didn't really have closure leaving Ohio, and As I said, my husband got some bad news with work right when we got here, so it was like a bad exit and then a bad entry. But now being here for a month, having more of our things in our house, having our house be a little bit more organized and not like clutter absolutely everywhere, and slowly getting into a routine, this is starting to feel a little bit more like home for us. We love it. We definitely don't regret it at all. If you could describe this adventure as a book, song, and emoji, what would they be? So I did look at these questions before, obviously. I am not someone that can like come up with these answers off the top of my head, but as a book, I would actually say All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. I'm not like a massive Colleen Hoover fan. I don't love like a romance, but honestly, that is a fabulous book. And if you know someone who is struggling with infertility, or if you yourself are struggling with infertility, it is like therapy in a book, I feel like. And especially if you are not someone who struggles, you could maybe better understand what somebody else is going through that book. But anyway, that book is kind of following a couple in their year-long struggle with infertility, as my husband and I have. And thankfully, our relationship is a bit better than the one in the book. They are struggling quite a bit in the book themselves. But spoiler, at the end, they do kind of come back together and they are starting a new life in a new area. So even though, of course, our story does not perfectly match this couple's story, thankfully, we both do feel in a big way that like our time in Columbus, our marriage in Columbus was unfortunately marked by a lot of grief with the infertility struggles, and we kind of tried everything for the most part in that area, and now here we feel like we are having a fresh start in this area and we are starting the adoption process. So hopefully this area will be marked by a lot more hope and some new additions to the family. And then as a song, I was just listening the other day to one of Casey Musgrave's albums. I think maybe like 3 albums ago, one of my favorites, and the Happy and Sad song came on. And again, like the book, of course, not like perfectly fitted, but I do feel happy and sad at the same time about this move. So I think that's a good one. And that's just a good song. And then the emoji, I like the emoji where it's like the crooked face, it's like half frowned, half smiled, or maybe like the upside down smiley face, just kind of showing like, yeah, it's all good. Like not 100% good, but we're getting there. Going into our second month of living here, I'm feeling a lot more like the smiley face that has like all the hearts around it. How is unpacking going? It is certainly going pretty slowly, but in some ways better than I thought, because I was able to find a lot of good furniture, like really high quality vintage furniture that I think is really adding to our home. It's not just like thrift store finds. So a lot of things that I thought we'd have to wait to buy, I have found on Marketplace for a much cheaper price. So our house is actually more complete than I expected it would be at this time. But at the same time, we still have many things to unpack. We still have many things to organize, but our goal was kind of to have the house as together as it could be by the time people started coming to stay, and I think we are pretty well on track for that. Have you found a new favorite restaurant or hangout spot yet? So yeah, as I said, we are on a bit of a budget, just with the cost of moving and just some financial changes in our life and things like that. So we don't have a huge fun budget, but one of the great things about this area, of course, is just that there is so much to do outside, and there are a couple different passes you can get in Charleston that allow you to like go and park at different beaches and state parks for free. So that was definitely worth it. That was something that we did decide to invest in. So every time we go to these Charleston beaches, we just have a little pass on our mirror and we don't have to pay to park. So as I said, we are planning on going to the beach like once a week to work, and we'll just bring a picnic lunch, and that's going to be really nice. Our anniversary is coming up though, and I found a cute restaurant in Charleston that does a brunch for a pretty good price. So I'm excited about that. That will be on April 28th. But hopefully about like once a month or so, we can go out to eat, try different restaurants. I am for sure someone who would rather go to a different restaurant every month rather than go to the same place. But hopefully I can find like some good coffee places to go and start writing again and just like really have a nice dedicated work time in a cozy space. Okay, those were all the questions I was asked, but if you have any more for me, definitely drop them down below and I will do my best to answer them in upcoming vlogs, or if I get enough, maybe I'll do a whole other sit-down Q&A. But I wanted to end this video, even though I know it is already long enough, I wanted to talk about some of the goals I have, because I do think moving cross country when you don't really know anybody in the area can be quite overwhelming, but I'm feeling positive about it. I feel like I've made some good goals to set me up for success in the area and help me and my husband get settled a little bit faster. So one of the main things I wanted to do was find a weekly social activity. Like I said before, I really only need like one thing a week and I'm pretty set socially. And thankfully, the church that we joined, it does have a weekly young adult group. So that is fantastic. And of course, one of the best ways to find people who are like-minded in terms of morals and values, which I think are the best ways to find like close friends, is to find them at church. So I think that is going to be a fabulous way for us to make some friends. Hopefully we make some couple friends. Maybe I can make some individual girlfriends on my own. So I'm very, very hopeful that, yeah, we'll find those friends there, but then that's also just one thing a week that is free that we can go to that will be a nice social activity. We also are Catholic, so we have the opportunity for daily mass, which is of course not a requirement, but because my husband and I have a flexible schedule, that's something that we are really trying to do, is actually just start every day by going to mass. It's only a half an hour and our church is pretty close to us. So that is also just a free thing to do that is getting out of the house. And I'm sure we will meet people just by going to church every day. Another organized activity that I'm kind of nervous about doing, but I am doing it at least one time, we'll see how it goes, is going to a local bookstore's book club. And I've tried to do book clubs before with like my friends and stuff, and it kind of has always petered out. And I had wanted to find a book club in Columbus, and I just like really never found one I felt like that was really close to me. But yeah, this bookstore is not too far away, and they have multiple book club meetings every month, because they have like a fantasy book club, and then I think kind of more just like whatever is popular at the time, and then maybe even like a thriller book club, and you guys know I love my thrillers. So this month they are having a book club meeting for the women by Kristen Hanna, and that is a book that I've been wanting to read. I do have it. So I am committed to going, and I'll probably vlog either that week or for a few days. So I'll let you guys know how it goes. I'll let you know what I think about that book. I am a little bit nervous about that one, but book people are nice, right? Along with going to mass every day, my husband and I, we did sign up for the Y, which is not too far from church, not too far from our house. So our plan is to just have a nice little morning going to church and then going to the gym and then coming back and getting a lot of stuff done for the day. So I'm really excited about that Y too, because not only does it have a gym, but it does have classes included for free, which is kind of rare. I feel like it's hard to find a gym where you don't have to pay extra for classes. So I don't know when I'll start going to one, but maybe next month I will find a class that I can go to like once a week or so. And when we signed up for the Y, we did ask about leagues, and they have leagues, but it's like all the stuff that we don't play, like soccer and like softball. My husband probably would like softball. I was hoping for a volleyball league or something like that, even basketball. So I'll keep my eye out, because I do think it would be really fun for my husband and I to together join like a co-ed league. I'd also like to get into regular volunteering. In Columbus, I did work for 4 years. My husband and I both did with our church's youth group. So I think I'm ready to do something like that again, like a weekly commitment with the youth. I love working with kids. So I don't know 100% for sure yet, but I do want to have something that I'm doing weekly volunteer-wise. And then overall, I'm super excited to just settle into nice routines. As I said, we do plan to go to church every day, go to the gym every day, and as we have these other commitments that we slowly build into our calendar, I think our week is going to look really good, and we're going to make some friends from these different social commitments, and of course we're going to have people visit us. So I'm super excited and hopeful about the future, and we are going to be implementing all these things gradually too as well, so don't worry, I'm not trying to like totally overwhelm my schedule right now. But I think this video has gone on long enough. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please please make sure to give me a big thumbs up and subscribe. We are quickly nearing 1,000 subscribers, and if you don't know, you don't get paid on YouTube until you reach 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. So I would love to make this more of a part-time job rather than a hobby, and you can do that simply by subscribing and watching my videos. And if you have any future video ideas for me, definitely let me know down below. I will be doing a mix of sit-down bookish videos as well as bookish lifestyle vlogs. But thank you guys so much again for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!